Waiting. I had to prepare 3 sermons for this Sunday, not knowing outcome, not possibly there. We didn't know the outcome. That was one sermon. One sermon, of course, was, well, no change in the presidential election, leadership. Okay. Didn't have to write that one. No, we're here celebrating. Very different place than we were in 2016. But I'm still pondering, waiting. Now we're waiting for January 20th. Waiting. So if you're waiting for the waiter at a restaurant, aren't you the waiter? Just wondering. Pondering life, that's what I do. One of my favorite memes while we were waiting this week was from the sloth in the movie Zootopia. And if you haven't seen Zootopia, please do. It's a fabulous, fabulous movie. The sloth is a banker moving at sloth speed. And the meme was the vote counting, of course, and our perception of how slow things were going this week. We have been waiting for so long, my people. We have been waiting for so long. We have been waiting for a woman to be in the executive branch of our democratic republic. So long. We have been waiting for a woman of color to be in executive level of leadership. We have been waiting for those who have power to help raise up our siblings who have been in danger of marginalization and oppression. We have been waiting for our transgender, indigenous, and immigrants to be voted into offices all across this beautiful country. We have been waiting for elected leaders to take strong action to help save our planet from global warming. We have been waiting for our leaders to heal, not hinder. We have been raising for them to raise up, not oppress, to create, not destroy, to love, not hate, to respect, not denigrate, to offer compassion, not dismiss, to act with courage, not fear, to lead, not abuse and neglect. We have been waiting for reconnection with one another in this great web of life. So we are celebrating today. The stars have shifted, the galaxy, the arc of justice all feels just a little bit better. But are you tired, my people? Are you exhausted? Waiting, we have to recognize, has a significant psychological impact, the stress. And I know some of you have been using your imagination. We all do. When we're waiting, we start to imagine the future and what's going to come next. And some of us imagine worst case scenarios outcome. And if the worst case scenario happens, that means we've actually lived it twice, which frankly doesn't make any sense. Why torture ourselves twice? That's exhausting in our bodies. Instead, wouldn't it be better when we're waiting is to imagine the best case outcome, the best future? Sure, you prepare for the worst, but you don't have to hyper focus on it. We buy AAA. We buy insurance. We lock the door at night, but we don't hyper focus on the worst each time. Imagine the best. As we look at the theme of the month of friction, I have to recognize that we're in constant friction between the past, the present, and the future. Tensions are always arising as we struggle to be in the present, waiting for whatever is next and struggling with the past. These tensions are exhausting. We're waiting for a door to open and what initiative we may need to take, but for what? Where are we going? Why are we taking action? This is a huge psychological impact, but it also has, and I'm a minister, so I have to go here. It has an existential layer as well. It brings an existential angst, a deep rumbling and grumbling in our subconscious pools of bewilderment about life and meaning. The classic 20th century play, Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, was a landmark play for its style of theater of the absurd, but it was an invitation for introspection about meaning and life and purpose. What are we truly waiting for? Does it matter? Does it matter? What we're putting all of our time and energy and anxiety into. As clergy, we often like to summarize that one of the things we're waiting for is death. Not always that easy, but we like to bring it up. So here's a classic traditional story out of Iraq. One day, a servant went to the market for the master for the daily produce and meals. And while there, the servant looked up and saw, staring right at him, was death. And death raised a finger and looked right at the servant. The servant was shocked and surprised and terrified, went running back to his master and said, please, please, master, you must save me. I just saw death in the market and looked pointed right at me. You must save me. The master, thinking quickly, said, grab a horse, get on it, go over to Samara. You'll be there by nightfall. You'll be safe. And I'll go to the market and confront death. The servant got on the horse, took off for Samara, and the master went to the market and saw death and said, what are you doing? You're surprising and shocking and scaring my servant. And Death said, yeah, I know, I'm sorry I surprised him, wasn't meaning to, but frankly, I was just surprised, he surprised me. I didn't think your servant would be here in Baghdad. I expected your servant to be in Samara. We have an appointment tonight. This is what clergy do. We ask, what are you running from? What is it you fear? That's the existential angst deep in our subconscious. Right now, we have two countries in our nation. Both are full of fear. Both are full of anger, resentment, and they're waiting. Both are waiting for massive change based on their values, their perception of how the world works, their needs and their wants. The election is decided, but we're still waiting. Always something coming next. But life is not always to be running from or toward something. It's not always about running to or from. Waiting is an important time to be clear about what is happening in this moment. It's an invitation to pause in the chaos and the tumbling forward. And we need to be grounded in spiritual practice of waiting. We have psychological costs. We have existential angst prodding us forward. We need a spiritual practice of waiting. In a few weeks, Advent begins in a period of dedicated waiting, invitation to reflect about the profound experience of being human on this long journey. In moments of waiting, there's an opportunity for heightened awareness, for a deepening of our emotional health, an exploration of what we really want out of our life, and find that meaning providing sustenance. For Christians, Advent is a waiting for the story of salvation to begin. But whether we're waiting for Advent, an election result, or for a friend who never shows up, waiting can be a discipline of accepting that we can't know what exactly is happening next. We don't always have control. Waiting is a time to hone our insights, shift our perspectives, practice patience. And as Unitarian Universalists, it's an invitation to practice our Unitarian Universalist fourth principle, that responsible search for truth and meaning. We can't do that if we're on the run all the time. Waiting is a time of taking stock, asking questions, exploring, to step outside of our busy lives and challenge our comfort zone. And asking ourselves if we have become too dependent on material pleasures. Waiting is a time of imagining a great tomorrow, a time of liberation for all, where hope can find its fulfillment. Waiting offers invitation for what are you living? For what are you spending your time? This was the question that Alexander Hamilton kept asking Aaron Burr. What are you waiting for? Our nation, then as it is now, and always has been in friction. And we must always look for the healing with our siblings, with our neighbors, with our family. We are always in that friction, a need of healing, a broken nation, and a people, and pursuing liberation for all, of celebrating life as it emerges in every moment. The tragedy of Beckett's characters in Waiting for Godot is they didn't know what they were waiting for, and they were disappearing. To wait is to prepare. It is to imagine not the worst, but the best future possible. Waiting is a fallow time of creativity bubbling up. Sure, buy AAA, buy insurance, have our bellies full and lay our tired bodies down for rest. And make time for joy, dancing, laughter, love, and bell ringing. Waiting is a time of imagination of what we truly want. And that comes from joy and love and bell ringing, not fear. Waiting is part of a cycle, a reflection of preparation, creation, action, time for waiting, reflection, preparation, and action. And if you are one of those people that really likes a paradox, my Star Trek fans, that's where we are. We are constantly, all at the same time, reflecting, preparing, creating, and acting. We are constantly waiting and preparing and acting, all at the same time. No one ever promised this human journey would be easy. And there's too much at stake to sit this out and disappear. Too many lives are at stake. Our new executive branch, our new senators and congresspeople need our support more than ever, to hear our voices and to know that we will be there and have their back. So breathe, my friends, breathe. Play, rest, sing, laugh, dance, ring those bells. We have left one waiting room. There are more to come. Let us remember for what we are yearning, for what we truly want to create together. Our breaths are tied to one another, always. Blessed be, and amen.